Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you how I created this fall landscape using gouache. Now my goal here was just to keep this simple and I think I achieved that. I did most of this using a flat brush for the background and a large round brush for most of the textures, but coming in with the leaves here, I did end up using this specialty brush. Now this is just a 12 round and it just says specialty brush. I think I got this at Michael's maybe. And basically what it is just a brush where the bristles are all flared out. And I just came in and kind of dabbed on some paint and created these little leaf textures. And I really love how this came out. And I will explain everything that I'm using and the colors that I'm using in the video as we go. So let's just get right into it. First, I'm taking this sky blue, which is a very light pastel blue. And I'm going to go light to dark starting from the very top. Now I did add some water to this so it is a little more watered down. But I didn't go ahead and wet the page first because I wanted this to be a little bit thicker. So you can see as I'm going down to the bottom of the sky here, I am adding some white to this mixture just because I want it to be lightest at the bottom and darkest at the top. I'm using a flat filbert here and I'm using a side-to-side motion, so if there is any streaks in the sky, it looks like it's meant to be there. Now I'm taking a warmer green. This is the pale green and grass green. I think I mixed them together, and maybe a hint of black in there, or blackish green, just to darken it up. And this is going to be my base layer for our foliage here, the green areas. So I basically just block this color in. And because I'm using some oranges and reds in the trees here, I'm going with more warmer greens in the background. And then I'm just taking some orange and I'm mixing that into this green and a little bit more of the grass green to make a bit more of a darker green. And I'm taking some red and mixing that in as well. So this is going to be the same red that I'll use later in the painting. So I like to use the same colors in some of my mixes. And because red and green are opposite colors, they will mix together to darken the mixture up and kind of make it a little bit more of an earthy green color. So that's what I'm going for here. And I'm just picking some areas where I know I want to put some trees in. So I want to have a little tree on the left and a few trees on the right. But I know the back area of that green part is going to be pretty much covered. So I'm making that a little bit darker. Now I'm mixing up that same grass green, like a warmer green, and I'm mixing some yellow and some red into it. I just want to start getting a little bit warmer and a little bit lighter as well. And I'm going to come on top of where I've put the first green and the second green, the dark green, but I'm not going to cover all of the areas. I'm just going to kind of dab this on, and I'm dabbing them in little spaces together so it looks like there's clumps of trees in the background, but I want to let some of that base color show through as well. And the dark color I've mostly put at the very bottom down there where our horizon line would be. So I don't want to cover that up either because that would be my shadow area for those trees. And I just keep coming in and adding a little bit more yellow or orange to this mixture to kind of warm it up. And I'm just using a round brush here. I think this is a size 8 or size 10 round brush. I use this brush for most of the painting except for the sky. And I do come in with a different brush to do the leaves and the trees, so you'll see that when we get there. But again, I'm just choosing some areas that I'm going to get this lighter color in. And here you see I'm just creating those little clumps of trees in the background again. So you see I'm not filling in all of the areas. I'm leaving spaces in between, which would be those shadows for those trees. And now I'm grabbing a little bit darker green, just adding that here and there. And now I'm grabbing some yellow ochre and some white, and I'm just going to fill in the road with this color here. If you have this set, that color would be earth yellow, but it's basically like a yellow ochre or even raw sienna type color. Now I'm mixing a little bit of yellow and the earth yellow or yellow ochre color and a little bit of orange. And I'm going to start getting some warmer colors in this painting now. I'm putting this mixture along the sides of the roads to make it look like maybe some leaves have fallen and gotten swept to the side of the road. So I'll go on top of this and create some leaf textures afterwards. But I'm just building up some of these warm colors in my background area. And I've added a little bit more yellow to that mixture. Now you can see the trees in the background are really starting to form a little bit better. Now I'm going to make up a very dark brown mixture, and I'm mixing my burnt umber with my ochre. This ochre in the set is a little bit more like a burnt sienna. It's a little bit more reddish in color, so I'm just mixing those together so I get like a dark reddish brown. And I'm just creating one little tree over here. Now, one thing when you are creating your trees, you don't want your lines to be perfectly straight because trees aren't perfectly straight. So don't worry if you have a little wobble to your hand while you're doing this. And as you're creating the branches, you just want each branch to be a little bit thinner than the one before it that's connecting before it. So the trunk's going to be the thickest, the next branch is going to be a little less thick, and then the next one a little less thick until it like kind of just fades off. And I'm just creating a few along the side of the road here. I kind of wanted the right hand side to be a little bit more full with trees. Now I've created a more of a yellowy orange, a pumpkin orange, and a dark red here. And this is where I'm coming in with this specialty brush. And I'm just dabbing it right over those branch areas where I want these leaves. And this worked really great to get some really quick and easy, some really fun leaf textures. I actually really liked that brush. I think it was a brush that I got at Michael's, and you can see the bristles are just very splayed in this brush. So it gives you a really neat texture. And I think this would actually be good for fur texture as well. You can see I'm starting with that orange color and then I'm adding in some of the red. And I want my light in this picture to be coming from the top left-hand side. So I'm being mindful of all my highlights being on the top left of everything, and my shadows are going to be on the bottom right. So even when I'm putting these leaves in on the trees, when I go in with that dark red color, I'm going to be focusing more on the bottom and to the right of the little leaf clumps in the trees. And I'm using those colors along the side of the road as well, just dabbing them in. Just creating some little leaf textures along the side. Now you'll see me squishing this brush at some point because it is a big brush. I think it's a 10 or a 12, but I just end up squishing it so it's a little bit thinner, and I use that for smaller areas. And now once I've got our background leaves in, I can come in and create some more branches for our front tree. And again, I'm just dabbing in some of those colors. And I think I'm starting with the more pumpkin orange, and then I tend to go to the darker color, get that dark red in there. And then I come on top with my highlights, that more yellowy orange color. And I'm just brushing this off on a Kleenex or paper towel because when I was trying to wash it out in the water, the bristles would kind of clump together like a watercolor brush, but I wanted them to stay dried and splayed out. So I'm just wiping it off on a paper towel in between colors, and that worked pretty good. So now I'm adding a little bit of white to this mixture that we were using for the trees, and I'm just going to add some highlights to the left-hand side of all the trees, because again, I want my light source to be coming from the left side of this picture. So I'm just coming and adding a little bit of a lighter color there. And now I'm making sort of a muted brown here. So I'm using the orange that I used in this picture and the blue that I used for the sky, and a little bit of that brown texture that I used to make the trees. And this is going to be my shadow color for the trees. And I'm just using a smaller rounded brush here. I think this is a size 6, and just creating a few little shadow areas. Now I wish I would have stopped here with this shadow because I like how it looks right now, but I do go in and add a little bit more to it. And I think adding a little bit more to it, I don't like it quite as much, but that's okay. You live and learn while you're painting sometimes. You've got to make mistakes to realize what you like, and then you learn from it, and then you'll take that into your next painting. And I'm just creating some shadow along the side of the road. And I wish, again, I would have just left it with a little bit of shadow, but I come in and thicken it up a little bit. And then I'm just taking the tape off. So this was just a fun little landscape to see how these gouache paints layer, and I think they layered really well. I had fun painting this. Now, I will say if you don't have that specialty brush, you can come in like I did with the trees in the background in the green area and just dab those colors in. That's totally fine. But sometimes I like to pull out some random brushes that I have and give them a try in my paintings. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I will see you in my next video. Bye.